what's happening around the world and what's happening here at home. A very good evening to and welcome to Weekend Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Let's take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Police say that details have been uncovered that the presidential pardon had been misused by prison authorities to illegally release inmates. Commissioner General of Prisons appears before the CID for a second time. No hazardous material in the 323 containers that were released, an assurance from Sri Lanka Customs.
අපි විශ්වාසයෙන් කියන්න පුළුවන් මේ බහලුම් අතර මොයි කියන කිසිම දෙයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ කියන එක.
3 women drown at a reservoir in Arnagangvilla, 4 others dead.
In our top story for tonight, police say that ongoing investigations have revealed that many inmates may have been released on the Vesak Poete under the guise of being granted a presidential pardon. Authorities confirmed that a comprehensive investigation has been launched into the incident.
What is the presidential pardon? How is it granted?
According to Article 34(1) of the Constitution, the President has the authority to grant a general pardon to prisoners. As per the established procedure, a list of eligible inmates is compiled by prison superintendents and forwarded to the Ministry of Justice. The Ministry reviews the list and then submits it to the Presidential Secretariat for final approval. The general pardon is granted only after receiving the President's formal approval. The list of 388 prisoners proposed for pardon on Vesak Day was sent to the President on the 6th of May.
How was this inmate released?
W.H. Atula Tilakaratna, who was held at the Anuradhapura prison, was released under the guise of a presidential pardon on Vesak Poe Day. The inmate in question was convicted on charges of financial fraud and misappropriation amounting to 4 million rupees. The case was taken up on the 2nd of May before North Central Province High Court Judge Lakmali Hewawasam, who ruled that the accused was guilty of the charges. Accordingly, the court imposed a fine of 20,000 rupees. In the event of non-payment, the defendant was sentenced to 6 months of rigorous imprisonment. In addition, the High Court sentenced the accused to 2 years of rigorous imprisonment, with the sentence suspended for 5 years. The court further ordered the accused to pay 2 million rupees in compensation to the victim, the main complainant in the case, or face 6 months of rigorous imprisonment. The case was scheduled to be recalled on the 4th of June for the payment of the fine and compensation. However, on the 4th of June, officials from the Anuradhapura prison informed the High Court that the accused had been granted a presidential pardon on Vesak Poete on the 12th of May. Taking these submissions into account, the North Central Province High Court ordered the release of the accused from the case. It was also revealed that the accused is currently facing 31 other separate cases related to financial fraud amounting to 558.2 million rupees.
Was the name of the inmate on the amnesty list?
The President's Media Division confirmed that Tilakaratna's name was not among the 388 inmates proposed to be granted the presidential pardon. Presidential Secretariat filed a formal complaint with the Criminal Investigation Department at around 7 p.m. last night. Following the complaint, CID officers immediately began recording statements from Commissioner General of Prisons Tushara Upuldenia, starting at 9 p.m. and continuing until 2 a.m. today. He has been instructed to appear again before the CID for further questioning today. Additionally, a CID team has been dispatched to Anuradhapura prison to conduct on-site investigations. Statements are scheduled to be recorded from the Superintendent of Anuradhapura prison and other relevant officers.
What actually happened? What is the current progress of the investigations?
The Criminal Investigation Department is currently investigating prison officials and others suspected of being involved in the illegal release of inmates under the guise of the inmates being granted a presidential pardon. Preliminary findings have revealed evidence that some inmates who were not authorized for release were unlawfully released during previous occasions as well. The CID is continuing its investigations.
Meanwhile, Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala revealed that such releases of individuals have been taking place for a long time.
We have been informed that prison officials had taken steps to release a prisoner that was involved in several financial crimes and that he was released by prison officials although he was not granted a presidential pardon. Information has now been revealed that an inmate was released based on a document that had not been approved by the president. This is a serious offence. Since information has now been revealed that this has been happening for a long time, investigations are currently underway. Legal action will be taken against those involved. This is a serious offence. Prison officials or anyone else cannot release inmates illegally. The government sees this as a serious issue and is taking action against it.
Meanwhile, the inaugural meeting of the newly elected Colombo Municipal Council will begin at 9:30 a.m. on the 16th of this month. Who will secure power at the Colombo Municipal Council?
National Organizer of Samagijan Balavegya, Thisatha Nayaka, says that securing control of the Colombo Municipal Council is not something the party can realistically achieve on its own.
There were a number of local government institutions that we were looking forward to winning, but we did not get the opportunity to establish control over them on our own. There is a group that voted in support of the government, and there are also some that voted against the government. We came to a policy decision that if we could gather those anti-government votes and form some sort of a power base, we should take that opportunity. There are still a few similar issues that need to be resolved. The Colombo Municipal Council is a very important political institution, arguably the most special local government body in the country. We cannot even think of establishing control of the Colombo Municipal Council by ourselves. There are also several independent groups involved, along with individuals holding various political views. We are currently in negotiations, but if the agreement reached at the national level is broken, the Colombo Municipal Council too will fall.
Deputy Minister of Housing T.B. Sarath says that the National People's Power, having secured a majority, should be given the opportunity to establish power in local government institutions.
We would like to clearly say that the National People's Power will take control of the Colombo Municipal Council. Brai Balthazar will be its mayor. There is no debate about establishing power. That is clear. We have already begun work within the Municipal Council. We are now in the process of establishing authority in the Colombo Municipal Council as well. Beyond that, the National People's Power is fully prepared to form administrations in all the remaining local government institutions. That responsibility has been given to the National People's Power by the people of this country. What power does the SJB, the Podujana Eksat Peramuna, or any other party have on their own? If their power is considered as individual parties, they might win one or two institutions. Is that real power? We are asking these so-called major political parties do not challenge the democracy of this country. Instead of facing even harsher backlash from the public, allow the National People's Power to assume leadership in these institutions. Respect the will of the people and take up the role of the opposition is entrusted to you. Can they suddenly accomplish what they failed to do for the past 76 years by uniting now after being rejected? Therefore, Sajith needs to step aside.
If we don't get growth to 4.5%, 5% instead of the base case of 3%, I'm afraid we will have to restructure our debt again in 3 to 4 years.
Who is responsible for the growth for the year 2024? Is it the Ranil Wickremesinghe administration or is it the Anukumar Dissanayake administration?
There is a 60 billion rupees excess that the consumers has given to CB, which should not have been given.
This whole tariff methodology business has got well politicized, and the public has got themselves in a twist on this.
Long-term generation plan, if they were formulated in a proper way about 20 years back, nowadays we could have absorbed less expensive indigenous resources like solar in large quantity.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Before the ultimate test, join us for a day with the legends.
Will be crowned World Test Champions.
The two captains leading their teams into the World Test Championship final will give their thoughts on this epic clash.
That's a brilliant moment in this ultimate test.
Greats of the game will then become immortalized as 7 new inductees will enter the ICC Hall of Fame.
One of the greatest in cricket history.
Join us on the 10th of June for a day with the legends on TV1 from 9:45 onwards.
Welcome back to the news. Continuing with more local news. Sri Lanka Customs has confirmed that there were no hazardous materials in the 323 controversial containers that were released without inspection.
පසුගිය වසරේ විශේෂයෙන්ම අපිට විශාල තදබදයකට මුහුණ දෙන්න සිදු වුණා. මේක ජූනි මාසයේ වන විට ඉතාමත්ම ඉහළ මට්ටමකට ආවා. බහලුමක් නිදහස්.
During the past year, there was a serious backlog. By the month of June, this backlog reached its peak. Releasing a container took about 7, 8 or even 10 days. Also, since the backlog was so much, about 34 ships left without docking at the Colombo port. To resolve this issue, the senior management of Sri Lanka Customs decided to establish a screening unit and to provide guidelines to that committee and to release without inspection containers that meet those standards and are considered as low risk. 60% of the containers at Sri Lanka Customs are released without inspection. Less than 40% of the containers are inspected. On average, about 1,500 containers are released a day. On some days, about 3,000 containers are released. Therefore, we are unable to inspect all of these containers before they are released. We began implementing this method since July 2024. It was in January 2025 that these controversial 323 containers were released. Until then, we had released a large number of containers. Through releasing these containers that we presume to be of low risk, we were able to manage the backlog.
අවදානමක් නැහැ කියලා අපි උපකල්පනය කරන බහලුම් නිදහස් කිරීම තුලින් මේ තදබදය අපි කළමනාකරණය කරගත්තා.
What was in the 323 containers that were released?
මේ බහලුම් වල
Raw material needed for industries including plastic, fabrics, thread, chemicals were in these containers. Vehicle spare parts imported by local agents of the manufacturers and electrical equipment were also inside these containers. Also animal feed, different machines, paper, solar panels, fertilizer, agrochemicals, cement and wood were also inside these containers.
From which countries were these containers imported from?
The majority of these containers were imported from India and China. Some of the containers were imported from Indonesia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Switzerland, South Korea and the United Arab Emirates.
What is the assurance that the Sri Lanka Customs can give that these containers did not contain hazardous material, including weapons?
Accusations were raised that these containers could have contained weapons, gold and drugs. We can confirm that none of these containers had such items. However, Sri Lanka Customs is conducting an audit on this through the Systems Compliance Audit Directorate. Also, a high-level committee appointed by the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance is investigating this entire procedure. We have also provided the Criminal Investigations Department with all the information required for them to conduct their investigations. At the end of the ongoing investigations, we could state with 100% certainty that these containers only contained items that were declared to the customs. These containers were released by a committee of customs officials. No other party issued an order or exerted any influence. There is no involvement. We followed the same procedure that was implemented since July 2024. We are acting according to the provisions of the customs ordinance. There is no possibility of influencing our work. We have provisions in law. An audit can be conducted, and if anything illegal has happened, we can investigate and fine them or impose any other sanction. You know that we were at war with the LTTE terrorists for 30 years. Even during that time, weapons had not been brought down through the Colombo port. Weapons cannot be brought down like that. They will be detected during the scan. Weapon smuggling is something that law enforcement bodies across the world are keeping a close eye on. If that is the case, we will definitely receive information on those matters.
පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරුන් කරපු චෝදනාවක් තමයි තොරතුරු දැනගැනීමේ පනත හරහා ඔබතුමාලගෙන් තොරතුරු ඉල්ලවලු මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්. ඔබතුමාලා තොරතුරු දෙන්නේ නැහැලු.
අපි මේ බහලුම් සම්බන්ධ සියලු
We have given the relevant institutions all the information regarding these containers. However, if you are engaged in a business, what you import, where you import them from, when you brought down the shipment, and how much you paid for the shipment are proprietary information. If we release this information, it could affect your business. That is the reason why we do not release certain information. We have released all the information that we can when requested to.
Companies තියෙනවා
There are 180 companies. There are 180 importers. We have forwarded information on all the 180 importers to the relevant committee.
Newsfirst with the people.
4 people had drowned while swimming in the Pahala Al-Lavawa in Aralaganvilla, Poronnaruwa.
The group, including the victims, had travelled from Ratmalana yesterday to visit a relative's house in Al-Lavawa, Poronnaruwa. This morning, they had gone to bathe at the nearby Pahala Al-Lavawa, located approximately 200 meters from the house, when this tragic incident occurred. A man in the group had first drowned in the reservoir. This man's wife and the rest of the group had attempted to rescue him.
මල්ලි වල්ලන්න ගිහිල්ලා ගහගෙන යනකොට අල්ලගත්ත වැලෙන් ඇල්ලට ගිහලා ඒතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝ එහෙම ගහන් යන ගම මායි මගේ පුතයි පැල්ලා බේර ගන්න ගියා අපිට ගන්න බැරුණා වැලලිස්සු අපි එහෙම යට අරගෙන ගියා ඊළා අපිට අමාරුවෙන්ද අපි එහෙම ගලප දාන හිටියා මේගොල්ලෝ එහෙම ගහගෙන ගියා අඩි 7ක් වගේ යනකුරයි.
The deceased have been identified as 27-year-old Ruan Tharaka de Silva and his wife 23-year-old Tilokama Tilakaratna. The other 2 victims are 31-year-old Menaka Darshani and her 13-year-old daughter, Lihini de Silva. All 4 of the victims were residents of Moratua Ratmalana.
Sri Lanka police has deployed about 3,500 officers to beef up security during the National Poson Festival.
While special life-saving teams were deployed around several tanks and reservoirs, a life-saving training program centered around the Abaya Vawa in Anuradhapura took place today to enhance rescue preparedness.
We have considered this life-saving training program as an opportunity to spread awareness, especially among devotees, reminding them to bathe only in designated safe zones monitored by lifeguards. Additionally, as these tanks are the primary source of drinking water for Anuradhapura, I take this as an opportunity to urge the public to avoid disposing of harmful waste like shampoo sachet packets and soaps into the tanks, and to keep the sacred city free from polythene and other waste.
Meanwhile, the mayor of Anuradhapura, N. Karunaratna, expressed views on the preparations currently underway in the city of the National Poson Festival.
All essential facilities have been arranged for devotees arriving for the National Poson Festival. This year, we are expecting a crowd between 1 million to 1.5 million people visiting Anuradhapura. We also encourage everyone to limit the use of polythene as much as possible.
A beautiful designed pandal set up at the old bus stand in Anuradhapura in celebration of the Poson Festival was unveiled last night. The pandal features a depiction of the Chulla Paduma Jataka story.
The Department of Meteorology says that rainy weather conditions are expected to enhance in the southern western part of the island from the 10th of June as the prevailing southwest monsoon is expected to strengthen over the island.
The Department of Meteorology, in a statement, highlighted that strong gusty winds are expected over the island and in the sea areas around the island. The department has urged the general public to be attentive to future forecasts and warnings issued by the Department of Meteorology in this regard. Fairly strong winds of about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over western slopes of the central hills and in northern, north-central, northwestern and southern provinces and in Trincomalee district. Amidst the prevailing adverse weather conditions, health authorities have also issued warnings over a significant rise in the spread of dengue and chikungunya.
Both dengue and chikungunya are transmitted by the same mosquito species known as Aedes. Eliminating mosquito breeding grounds is one of the most effective preventive steps. Since the early symptoms of chikungunya and dengue are quite similar, proper medical evaluation is essential. Chikungunya is typically marked by intense joint pain, and using painkillers without medical supervision is strongly discouraged. Anyone experiencing fever, body aches and headaches for more than 2 days should seek medical attention immediately. A macaw has reportedly been stolen from the Dehiwala National Zoo. Sri Lanka police has reported that a blue and yellow macaw was stolen from the National Zoological Gardens in Dehiwala. According to the police, the theft had taken place between the night of June 3rd and 8 a.m. on June 4th, and the act was captured on CCTV footage. 30 macaws were kept in an aviary at the National Zoological Gardens in Dehiwala. The caretaker of the aviary has noticed the aviary's door lock was broken the next morning while preparing for work and has alerted senior officials of the zoo. Upon inspection, it was found that one blue and yellow macaw has gone missing. Following a complaint made to the Dehiwala police, an investigation is now underway. The missing macaw is reported to be valued at over 400,000 rupees. A freight train service from Kanaksanture to Colombo resumed today after a 35-year hiatus. The launch took place under the leadership of Minister of Transport, Highways, Ports and Civil Aviation Bimal Ratnayaka. Sri Lanka Railways, along with the station master and staff, have worked diligently to reintroduce freight services from Kanaksanture after 35 years, meeting the demands of the public. We see this as a service with significant potential for further improvement. The Ministry of Industry has approved the development of an industrial zone in Kanaksanture, and a request has been made to extend a railway track directly to this zone. This creates new business opportunities for freight transport. We express our gratitude to everyone involved in rebuilding the Kanaksanture railway station after the Civil War. However, the current platform setup poses challenges for the public to access the second platform due to the lack of connecting transport facilities. Therefore, today, clear instructions were given to implement an efficient and timely solution for utilizing the second platform. The Department of Railways has adequate funding to support this development. A landmark book chronicling the intellectual history of development economics was officially launched in Colombo, shining a global spotlight on a towering figure in Sri Lankan economic thought.
Titled The Apostles of Development, 6 Economists and the World They Made, the book by Yale historian Dr. David C. Engerman casts a revealing spotlight on the late Dr. Lal Jayawardena of Sri Lanka, one of 6 pioneering economists who helped define development economics after World War II.
Lal Jayawardena, who held a number of important posts and took a number of important roles both in Sri Lanka and internationally. In Sri Lanka, he was in large part responsible for the formulation of Sri Lanka's first 5-year plan, and actually worked in planning over the course of the 1960s as well. By the late 70s, he was a major figure in the liberalization of the Sri Lankan economy in 1977. The IMF set up a Committee on Reform of the International Monetary System and Other Matters, a very bureaucratic name, commonly known more briefly but no less cryptically as the Committee of 20. And Lal Jayawardena and Manmohan Singh, representing their respective nations, really tried to push for significant change in the international financial system and in the IMF itself. You can guess how that went, and I would say it's in the aftermath of that the new international economic order comes into being. I should say here that my purpose in Apostles of Development, even though I've spent the whole time so far talking about these 6, is actually not just to recount 6, I think, interesting lives, but also to interpret the global history of development, running more or less from South Asian independence in the late 1940s through the 2000 teens as they kind of wrapped up the most active phase of their careers.
The Colombo launch brought together academics, policymakers and diplomats to honour Dr. Jayawardena, who is remembered not only for his intellect but also for his deep commitment to practical, people-centred economic reform.
The semi-finals of The Voice Sri Lanka Season 3, the only platform in Sri Lanka that propels local singing stars to the international stage, was held yesterday at Stein Studios in Ratmalana. Out of a pool of over 20,000 aspiring singers, 160 contestants were selected for The Voice Sri Lanka Season 3. From there, 32 contestants, divided into 4 teams of 8, advanced to the semi-finals under the mentorship of their respective coaches. Now, only 4 contestants with both the talent and the luck have earned the chance to compete in the grand finale of The Voice Sri Lanka Season 3. Representing Team Supun, Imesh Sandeepa and Madhushanka Bandara delivered impressive performances. Rasindu Mihisara and Kanishka Piris represented Team Mihindu in the semi-finals. Mihindu Kirti Singha and Lisara Fernando took the stage representing Team Hiroshi. Team Raini were represented by Isaac Timothy and Ruchira De Silva in the semi-finals. The 4 finalists were chosen based on votes. Imesh Sandeepa was selected to represent Team Supun in the grand finale. Rasindu Mihisara will compete in the final on behalf of Team Mihindu.
Team Mihindu Rasindu Mihisara! Bodiya gahanne me dedenagen Lisara Fernando. Team Raini Venuin, our son
Lisara Fernando from Team Hiroshi and Isaac Timothy from Team Raini also secured their spots in the final.
It's the final countdown.
Young audiences turned out in numbers to show their support for the emerging talent on The Voice Sri Lanka. The grand finale of The Voice Sri Lanka Season 3, the biggest show ever in Sri Lanka, is scheduled to be held on the 14th of June. US President Donald Trump is not backing off his battle with Elon Musk, saying Saturday that he has no desire to repair their relationship and warning that his former ally and campaign benefactor could face serious consequences if he tries to help Democrats in the upcoming elections.
US President Donald Trump, in a phone interview with NBC's Kristen Welker, said that he has no plans to make up with his former ally, Elon Musk. Asked specifically if he thought his relationship with the mega billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX is over, Trump responded, quote, "I would assume so, yeah," end quote. Trump continued, quote, "I'm too busy doing other things. You know, I won an election in a landslide. I gave him a lot of breaks long before this happened. I gave him breaks in my first administration and saved his life in my first administration. I have no intention of speaking to him," end quote. The president also issued a warning amid chatter that Musk could back Democratic lawmakers and candidates in the 2026 midterm elections. The president's latest comments suggest Musk is moving from close ally to a potential new target for Trump, who has aggressively wielded the powers of his office to crack down on critics and punish perceived enemies. As a major government contractor, Musk's businesses could be particularly vulnerable to retribution. Trump has already threatened to cut Musk's contracts, calling it an easy way to save money. The dramatic rupture between the president and the world's richest man began this week with Musk's public criticism of Trump's big, beautiful bill pending on Capitol Hill. Musk has warned that the bill will increase the federal deficit and called it a disgusting abomination. Trump criticized Musk in the Oval Office, and before long, he and Musk began trading bitterly personal attacks on social media, sending the White House and the GOP congressional leaders scrambling to assess the fallout. As the back and forth intensified, Musk suggested Trump should be impeached and claimed without evidence that the government was concealing information about the president's association with infamous pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Musk appeared by Saturday morning to have deleted his posts about Epstein.
A Colombian presidential candidate was shot 3 times, reportedly twice in the head, at a campaign event in the capital Bogota today. Foreign media reports that he is in critical condition in hospital after being shot by a 15-year-old boy.
Segundo, salud mental, el principal problema en Bogotá, en Colombia.
Colombian Senator Miguel Uribe, 39 years old, from the center-right Centro Democrático, the biggest opposition party in the South American nation, was attacked while addressing a small crowd in a park on Saturday. According to the General Prosecutor's Office, he was shot twice yesterday afternoon in the capital's Fontibon district. Video footage showed the senator giving a speech to a crowd before multiple loud bangs rang out. He was seen lying on the ground as people around him fled. Police and civilians later rushed him to an ambulance. Uribe's party said he was shot in the back while he was participating in a campaign event. In a broadcast statement yesterday evening, Colombian President Gustavo Petro condemned the attack and vowed to hunt down those responsible, suggesting other criminals may have been involved.
Nosotros queremos, antes que nada, garantizar la más absoluta transparencia del Estado en su competencia para investigar y lograr llegar a los autores intelectuales del intento de homicidio hasta ahora.
President Petro expressed his hope that the opposition senator would survive and said politics should be free of violence. Local media later reported that police had arrested a 15-year-old suspect at the scene. Uribe's Centro Democrático Party condemned the attack, saying it endangered democracy and freedom in Colombia. According to foreign media, paramedics have said that he had been shot in the knee and twice in the head. He was then airlifted to Santa Fe Clinic, where supporters have gathered outside to hold vigil. As concerns on the attack were rising globally, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also condemned the shooting in a post on X as a direct threat to democracy. Uribe announced his candidacy for next year's presidential election in October. He is from a prominent political family in Colombia with links to the country's Liberal Party. His father was a union leader and businessman. His mother was Dina Turbe, a journalist who was killed in 1991 in a rescue attempt after she had been kidnapped by the Medellin drugs cartel run at the time by Pablo Escobar.
Sri Lanka's young racing sensation Yevan Devi registered a thrilling victory today in the third race of the third round of the 2025 Euro Formula Open season by securing first place in the race held in Germany.
But it looks like too much for Shin to do. The Sri Lankan lion will roar once more.
Yevan David turns 18 on Wednesday. Birthdays come a little bit early before he becomes officially a man. It's victory once again, a slide out of the final corner. Yevan David wins race 3 in Hockenheim. A superb performance, 3 different winners in 3 races this weekend, a 4th of the season for David.
The third round of the 2025 Euro Formula Open Championship took place yesterday and today at the historic Hockenheim Ring in Germany. Sri Lanka's Yevan David finished his 18 laps in 31 minutes and 0.102 seconds. With this victory, Yevan David leads the Drivers' Championship standings of this season.
Of the weekend on Saturday. Obviously did not claim a podium at Spa. Yevan David, though, a winner again and will continue to lead the championship.
We wrap up tonight's news with a beautiful Sri Lankan segment showcasing a place where the soul finds peace, one of the many serene spots in Sri Lanka. Good night.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.
For weary eyes, the lush greenery of nature provides a refreshing and unique experience. This is yet another hidden gem within the beautiful green landscapes of Sri Lanka. Some of you may have heard of Solomba Alla. This beautiful waterfall located in Vulatko-Pitya in Kegor brings peace and calm to anyone who experiences the soothing flow of its waters. The waterfall starts from the Abamalla mountain. To reach the waterfall, this bridge must be crossed. That's why this waterfall has drawn the attention of both local and international tourists. If you travel from Ruanvalla via the Varavala Vulatko-Pitya road, you too can visit and see this beautiful waterfall. Come and experience the serene beauty of Solomba Alla.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.